All right, we are live once again with the brother Awini Baba. Let's get some more people in the chat room. Hold on 1 second. Turn that off. There we go. All right, let's get some more people in the chat room. People who are watching from Atlanta, make sure you store up on your food and water because the Hurricane Irma is supposed to be passing through. You know, the aftermath of it, you know, it's definitely going to be some tropical storm type weather. So make sure you store or go to the store, go to Kroger or Publix or wherever, CVS, and make sure you store up on some water and food. So I just wanted to put that out there because the MARTA is being shut down tomorrow. So there will be no public transportation as far as train or bus or whatnot tomorrow here in Atlanta. It's all being shut down. So that should tell you something right there. So hopefully it's not that serious. But again, just want everybody to be prepared. So there's no hiccups, I guess. So me and the brother Awini Baba, we're going to be talking about the African economy today, as far as an outlook. And brother Baba is going to give an outlook or a brief synopsis on the African economy. You know, maybe we might even start before colonialism, talk about it after colonialism, talk about present day, and then talk about the future of the African economy, and also go into detail on how foreign interests that have played a large role in Africa, period, how that affects the economy. So we'll go ahead and get started, Brother Baba. So let's really go into detail in regards to the African economy. Brother Baba. Awini. I hope we didn't lose him. Awini. All right, I guess we have some technical difficulties.
Yeah, hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second.
Okay, you're there. Okay, I think he's gonna call back in. Erwin, what's going on? How you doing, bro? Black Cave, I see you. From Goriga. Where's Goriga at? Is that a city? Where's Goriga?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, brother. Go ahead and get let's go ahead and get started. Give us a brief overview of the African economy.
Okay. Yeah, first of all, I'd like to say hi to everybody and to let you know my heart goes out to those who were affected by the tropical storms in Texas and Hurricane Irma, in Florida and in Southern America, Cuba, you know. So I hope everybody is holding up well. So my heart goes out to them. So briefly speaking, when you study, after talking from a Ghanaian perspective, the economy, you know, that existed before the Europeans came was a bit different, you see. So because it was largely based on trade between people who had similar goods to exchange, what you call barter trade, you see. And so this was the commonest way of sustaining the economy. You know, we had different, in order to understand, we had different groups, kingdoms in Ghana before the Europeans came and later turned this place into, you know, a single unit or nation state, you see, and that brought together all these groups you find in Ghana. Ghana has not less than 40 different ethnic groups, you know, that speak their own language. It's all the difference between the cultures, you know, but we're basically the same people. So it's clear because we have to be clear about something. the African economy must benefit Africans first, right? And this is the basis upon which we must digress and discuss the issue, because previously we owned our economy. We owned it. We produced goods and some services that we benefit out of. You see, even if it was not because people are tempted to think that money is the economy. That's not so. You see, it is where production takes place. You see, the production of full value to another. Service, and basically, if you might something that is also of value. You see, it could be gold, because gold was used in the past. It could be silver, anything that we have mutually agreed on before I fixed your car. So that was the basis, basically, of our economy. But to fast forward, after colonialism, what happened was, so when the Europeans came here, they set up a system that was to extract, which is the basis of our economy. Cocoa became a top cash crop. At that time, Ghana was the highest producing country in terms of cocoa output.
Now, not to cut you off, not to cut you off, but now it's the Ivory Coast. Am I correct?
Yeah. I stand to be correct, but I know Ivory Coast has passed us. We are around fourth or so in the world now.
Okay.
You see, we're still among. Ivory Coast has a larger output now. But some of that, but some of that.
Brother Baba, I think we're losing you. Awini, do us a favor. You might have to turn off the video on your Hangouts. Turn off the video, because I guess it'll help you stream easier because of the amount of bandwidth it uses. Okay, I think we lost Brother Baba. He should be coming on soon, though. It happens. It's all good. He'll be back on here shortly. I hope you guys are enjoying the show so far. And that's the purpose, Erwin. I want to develop and provide the best, I would say, diaspora, which includes Africa as well, content on the net. I want to search for Uhuru is going to bridge African ingenuity and diaspora ingenuity. That's what the purpose and the objective is. It's bridging and connecting, because my Dogon name is Amono, and the name Amono means to connect, or the connector. That's what the Dogon gave me. And so the objective is to connect and build a bridge between African or diaspora ingenuity and African ingenuity. That's the purpose. That is the purpose. I hope Brother Baba hops back on soon, because he is more of an expert, obviously, on the African economy, because he lives in Africa, specifically Ghana. Let me message him on Facebook. Specifically, Ghana. Let me check one thing out. So I hope we so again, we want to bridge the gap between the diaspora and Africa. You know, where African ingenuity and diaspora ingenuity meet. Okay. Oh, he's back. Oh, Brother Awini is back. Awini. 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 He just texted me. He said the line is bad. Can you go to another? You will have to turn off the video on your.
Yeah.
Okay, Awini, you're back.
Yeah, the lines are bad, huh?
Yeah, Awini. What you're probably gonna have to do is turn off your video and just record the audio. Yeah,
yeah.
You know how to do that?
I could do that. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think that's what's slowing it up.
All right. So
okay.
It's better
go
now.
Ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So basically, what I was trying to get at, and the premise needs to be set, right?
Go ahead.
It's about who controls the economy. That makes sense that Africans or the African economy shouldn't benefit Africans first, right?
Right.
So that's the common sense of it. So basically,
Awini, we're losing you again. Awini, we're losing you.
Set up, and this was the basis of the early economy, you see. But in this time, what happened was, Ghanaians were still not in control of the central economy that you call Ghana today. What we had was a system where we got some returns that went into infrastructure development, social infrastructure development, hospitals, schools. But these facilities did not primarily benefit the ordinary Ghanaian. It was meant for the elites, you see. And this system or this model of the economy at that time was overthrown when Nkrumah became the first president of Ghana. And he basically tried to shift Ghana from this model of the economy so that Ghana could become the controller and owner of its economy. And so, when a new nation is formed, pretty much when Nkrumah took over, a lot of transformation took place, a lot of infrastructural development. He It built, a lot of schools, universities, and whatnot, a lot of development. So when a new nation is formed or is born, there immediately, arises a need for certain services within the country. And these services also have economical, benefits for the country. For instance, the telecommunications, you see, and the other services that come along with it, you see, the banking system and what have you. So the early years of post-independence or post-colonialism in Ghana was, dedicated to setting up the needed infrastructure for our economy to be built on it, which was a step in the right direction. Things between Mark came around 1957 to when he left office. But
Damn, brother, we're losing.
If I want to count the amount of structure he brought, Nkrumah, he got it. Oh, is it better now? Hello?
Just keep going, but it keeps going in and out. Like, some jewels, but it's just we're not getting everything because it's going in and out.
I've relocated. Is it better?
Yeah, it's better now. Go ahead.
Yeah. So every country, needs basic infrastructure on which it can build its economy, and Ghana and Nkrumah tried to do that. So Akosombo, which is our first, hydroelectric dam system for generating electricity. This was built during the time of Nkrumah. Our harbor was extensively upgraded, and a community was built at the harbor in Tema. You see, universities and so on were built. Ghana was starting to manufacture its own things. We were dealing with fridges. We were dealing with the basic matches. Virtually every region in Ghana had a factory. You see, in order to produce, to feed Ghana with the needed goods that any nation needs. Any modern nation, may I say, a modern nation. Now, unfortunately, Nkrumah couldn't realize his dream. He was, we would say he was assassinated because shortly after he was he developed illness in Guinea. You see, and so in the aftermath of that, a new system was put in place, the new liberal economic system, which is what we're dealing with right now. You see, and this is at the heart of the problem. Now, Ghanaian or African resources do not necessarily have to benefit us first, because under these systems, the factories that Nkrumah built they collapsed. Because I'll give you an example of how some of them collapsed. So we had a tomato factory up north where I come from, right? And what happened around 1983? This is when we went to IMF for an economic recovery program, because Ghana, after the overthrow of Nkrumah, was hit by a series of coups d'etats and unrest, civil unrest in the country. And so in '83, under Jerry John Rawlings, we went in for what is called the Economic Recovery Program. And what this program did, under this program, we had what you call SAP, Structural Adjustment Program. And what this sought to do was basically to liberalize our economy. And look, no country liberalizes its economy in that manner. If you look at Germany, Germany was devastated, and not only Germany, a lot of European countries were devastated after the Second World War. They received help from America in what is called the Marshall Plan to help resuscitate their economy. Now, in Ghana, these policies were imposed on Ghana. I need to say they were imposed on Ghana. And so a program like the Structural Adjustment Program, what it did was to tell Ghana, or to put a condition in there for Ghana to, most of the ways African economies and developing economies are enticed to go into the IMF and World Bank is that you get immediate money, right? You get immediate money or stimulus to inject into your economy. But then the people giving you the money, they give you conditions. So they gave us conditions and said, you need to liberalize trade, which means that when goods come to your ports from the outside world, you don't need to charge them much. You need to reduce the tariffs that you charge at the ports so that they can compete in your economy. You see? So in the case of the tomato factory and several other factories, this is what happened. Under these programs of the IMF, Ghana reduced its tariff charges, or the tariffs in general. And so we had an influx of goods outcompeted our locally produced ones or goods. So in the case of tomato paste, the imported tomato paste ended up being cheaper than the Ghanaian made tomato paste. You see? So it finally put the factory out of business. And a lot of factories went out of business soon afterwards. You see? And the public sector shrunk. See, and all of these austerity measures and so on that were supposed to help us, they ended up not helping us, to the extent where we don't own our economy anymore. That is the sad truth about it. If you look at the production, and that is why I started by saying that no matter, we are not against capitalism and all of that, but no matter what system a country embraces, it must benefit the country first. Otherwise, the country is being shortchanged, right? So if you look closely, and those of you who are economists and have access to the information, you look at Africa, and it wasn't only limited to Ghana. A lot of African countries went the same way. Nigeria went the same way, Cameroon, a lot of them, basically all of them, went the same way. And what happened was that our core institutions and factories and so on, Ghana had our airline, we had our shipping line, under Nkrumah. Where are all these things now? They were sold because the neoliberal system of economy, they tell you the government has no business doing business in the country, that it should be left to the private sector to do the business. Now, the question we ask is, how many Ghanaians at that time, if you look at post-independence, right, how many Ghanaians had the resources, all kinds of resources, the human, the fiscal or monetary resources, and material resources to, for instance, own a shipping line. You see? So to apply the neoliberal economic system to the case of Africa, which was just coming out of colonialism, and new nations were being born, and the nation state idea was just being born. It makes no sense for us to embrace wholeheartedly neoliberal systems because we did not have the private people within the country. And that's why it goes back to the point. If you say, or if the IMF says, okay, we want you to leave your hands or take your hands out of business and let the private sector do it. The question we ask is, who is the private sector? And is the private sector Ghanaian or African?
And
The
the answer is no.
No. And this was the trick. I call it a trick because and this is why I bash some of our leaders so heavily, because they knew what they were doing. They knew the consequences of this, but they also benefited from this. You see, when you study the African system, you find that, look, the reason why we're in this mess is because some people among us are benefiting from it. That's why it's continuing. Some so-called leaders, they are the ones who take the lead and sell the country out for their private pockets. This is the truth we have to speak, and people don't want to hear it, but that's the truth. We have individuals in Ghana from these diabolical plans to run Africa down, and then to turn around and tell Africa, you're not capable. You can't rule yourself. And this is, it all goes to support the point that people say, you can't do it, and you don't have the potential and all of that. You see, but if you study China, that also came from a similar situation. They did not allow their country or the economy to be taken over in that manner. They held on to the point where wealth began to develop in the country, and individuals could then own industries and own strategic sectors of the economy. In the case of Africa and Ghana, the government needed to take the lead to own these strategic sectors of the economy. We couldn't do it with the private sector because the money was just not there. Individuals did not have the money to build to own a shipping line. You see? Hello? 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 Hello?
So, as we all know, the foreign entities that control the industry in Africa do not have the best interests of Africa or Africans at heart. Hold on, that might be. I'm in Atlanta, so the storm is coming through, Irma. Okay, Awini's back. Awini. Oh, here we go. You there?
The line got bad.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, where you left off.
Yeah. So so this is at the heart of the question, is when Africa was forced to embrace neoliberal economic policy, what was the implication for ownership of the economy? The implication was that Africans, were going to sell off or be shortchanged in terms of the ownership of the economy. This is giving at the heart of the issue, because if your government or if our governments in Africa did not use the government purse or the national purse to finance telecommunication companies and railway companies and all of these companies that provide services to people who need them, then who would provide these services? Are you there?
Yeah, we're right here. I'm right here, brother.
Yeah. So who would provide these services? So what that did was to create for foreign entities to come in and take undue advantage over Africa once again, which is why Nkrumah and others spoke about neocolonialism. We are living in a neo-colonial era where when the Europeans were forced to leave Africa, they left physically, some of them left physically, but they used all manner of maneuvers to
make sure they
regain,
make sure
they
that their
regain
interests are still
control.
best served.
Exactly. And I have to, you see, people accuse me of not being sensitive enough. And this is my take. I say, I don't blame the Europeans or foreigners for wanting to take advantage of Africa. It's their nature to do so.
Right.
So if you have a thief in your community, or you have a bunch of unruly people, gangsters in your community, and your community does not respond to these gangsters, instead your community keeps complaining about these gangsters and bashing them and saying, they're bad people and all of that. No, that's not the appropriate response. The appropriate response is that of action.
Right.
And Africa has not responded. Africa has been shortchanged because the early independence drive was stifled. And it was stifled with the help of greedy Africans, the same greedy Africans who participated in the slave trades, the same greedy Africans who were controlling Africa for the slave master.
Mm-hmm.
That's the harsh truth about it. You see? And they're doing this and they're living like kings. You see? Because they get sick. Can you believe the irony of it? They get sick and they can't go to a Ghanaian or African hospital. They have to be flown out of the country.
Right, like your boy, like your boy in Nigeria.
Yeah. And it's basically all the African leaders.
Buhari.
Yeah, it's basically all of them do it. And it's such a shame that in this day and age, Africa does not have a state of the art. The only one we can talk of is South Africa, and we know why that is. You see? But the issue is Africa has still not been able to build a world-class hospital that its leaders can go to. Isn't that a shame? So if Africa cannot provide these basic social services and the president doesn't feel safe going to the hospital that he built, then why should the rest of us go there? You see? So we're left on our own, and we need
not to cut you off. They said the reason why Buhari would not get treatment in Nigeria was because he was afraid of being, I guess, poisoned in a hospital.
Assassinated.
Or assassinated.
No. That so let's follow that line of argument. You don't believe that those who have the resources to do that can equally do it in the UK? There are a lot of Nigerians in the UK, and some of them are doctors. You see, so that argument does not hold. So African leaders feel safer in Europe or elsewhere than in Africa. Then they need to move to Europe and rule there. Yeah, I mean it's nonsense, and some of us get pissed off of this because if you build the institution, most of them, they can afford to have their own doctors.
Correct. Right.
The best doctors. That's not the answer. The answer is that the infrastructure is not there. They don't feel they'll be in safe hands when they get sick, and that's why they leave and go elsewhere to get world class, healthcare. And the reason they cannot provide it in their own countries is questionable, and it just exposes the level of development of Africa. Sadly, to have a president go out to another country, they should rather feel unsafe going to another country for healthcare rather than get it in their own country. So basically speaking, when you look at the goods that are produced or consumed in Ghana, they're not owned by, I'll say about 90% of them are not owned by Ghana. Even the crops, some of the crops we produce here, because the farmers get so much subsidy, they get help, they get fertilizer, they get all of this and that. And that. By the time they go to the market, they have to give away some of it to cover the cost that was put into it. So who owns the African economy? And where are we going? I don't know, because government after government after, look, recently, and this is a trending issue in Ghana, the new government wants to privatize VRA.
Privatize what?
That's the Volta River Authority. This is the hydroelectric plant.
Okay.
For producing power.
Now, and then the Volta Dam project, that was a project that was kicked off by Nkrumah, correct?
Yeah, it was completed by Nkrumah. He completed it.
The dam is still there, correct?
Yeah, it's our primary source of electricity as we speak.
Okay.
You see, we have a number of independent power producers, but they don't contribute much to the national grid. You see, so in the same way, governments, we had our own airline, they sold it off under the pretext of neoliberal economic policy that government shouldn't do business. They sold off, most of the shares in our telecommunication company that used to be Ghana Telecom, which is now Vodafone. Basically everything is on sale. Once you get a good investor, they sell out.
Right.
But so at the end of the day, we in Ghana, we don't control the big sectors of the economy. If you go to the oil find, and Ghana's share there is less than 20%. You see, and sadly so. But this is a situation, and it just doesn't make sense that Africa, would keep selling off cheaply its resources in the manner that we're doing. I would prefer that we leave them. If you don't have the potential to mine or get maximum benefit out of them, you leave them the way they are, so that the future generations can put them to use.
Let me ask you this, Awini. Are there any concessions made for local African business people to, I guess, to bid for any projects that are going to be privatized, or is it pretty much a highest bidder? And if you're a foreign entity and you have the most money, you'll get that project. Is that how it works?
Yeah, basically, you see, the motivation for selling off some of these resources is that government needs money immediately. You see, so recently our government went to China, and they're basically looking for a 15 billion facility. You see, and what we need to give in return is our bauxite.
Right.
You see, and so is this sort of borrowing that keeps Africa vulnerable? And the question some of us ask is, where is the money being invested? You see, and there is no way Africa will come out as an economic power if we do not produce our own goods and services. And those who keep telling us that the private sector should do it, they better go and revise their notes. The countries that have strong private sectors today, they got a lot of support from the governments, their governments, to start off. So we're not against private ownership. We're just saying that the resources of Africa and Ghana in particular, in this case, should benefit Ghana.
Right.
Not the other way around. And unfortunately, I'm telling you, it's the other way around. Because yes, we have a few concessions that some Ghanaians get, some rich Ghanaians now, but they're so insignificant that they have very little impact on our control of the economy. You see, so this is the problem, that economic system that Africa has been forced to embrace is not helping. We started going to the IMF since 1983. As I speak to you, we are still under IMF. You see,
right.
So what is the validity? If you study Brazil, the Chinese economy, and all of these economies that have emerged, they stopped. They have to stop it because they realized it wasn't going well for them. And our people are not doing the same. They want immediate cash to put into sectors. I don't know which sectors they put it into, but the situation is very sad, because I know the way things are going, VRA is going to be sold. So basically what we're going to have in Africa is we're going to be citizens in a country where we don't control anything. So foreign companies are going to produce the basic goods and services, and they're going to dictate to us how much we should pay for them. And this is a sad development, because if the pricing of our few raw materials that we send out are determined by the world market, and the pricing of the finished goods that get imported into Africa are still determined by of demand and supply, then we have no power. We are just going to be clients whose role is to give our labor and work, make a little bit of money, and basically give it back to foreign investors. And I'm not against foreign investors. I think foreign investors want to invest in Africa, they should come and set up their own industries and compete. But we cannot tolerate where the government sells.
Awini, when you say compete, when you say foreign investors should come and set up their own industries to compete, who exactly are they competing with? Awini, hello?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, who would they be competing with? Because again, if foreign investors come in and set up their own industries, who would they compete with? Because per, I guess what I hear are Africans that are actually in Africa. Africans really don't control any industries. So would they be, who would they be competing with? Will it be other Africans, or will it be with other foreign?
Yeah, but my take on this is that the government should still do business on our behalf. You see?
But the government already, the governments are pretty much already sold out to private foreign entities. So, you know, what is the government? What are they really doing? I mean, because it seems like they put the hands in, they put the power or the responsibility or the control of, you know, pretty much any type of industry into the hands of foreign interests. So,
So what we are advocating now is that government must do business on the behalf of Ghanaians, and so that we can make money from doing business, so we can push social development. And we're not doing that. You see, I'm not saying that Ghanaians don't have some businesses going on, because they do, right? My problem is that these businesses are in the category of what you call the MSMEs, the micro, small, and medium scale enterprises. Hello?
Yeah, I'm right here.
Yeah. So majority of Ghanaians in business, they fit into this category. They're not vulnerable, by the way. They're vulnerable because they depend on the macro economy or larger businesses to do well. For instance, a lot of, I'm sure you've seen in Senegal also, young people, they're doing, you know, they own these telecom service, you know, provision, retail services, right? So people sell scratch cards and provide mobile money and all that. But basically, what I'm saying is that that's not fine. It makes a little bit of money, and it makes not much money. By the way, it's very insignificant, even for those.
Yeah, I mean, you want to control the actual mobile company. I mean, selling this, like, you know, when I come to Africa, you know, and I walk out the airport, the guy selling the SIM cards, and there's like, and I get surrounded by guys selling SIM cards. You know, that's little money.
Yeah, so Africans, and that's why I don't really buy into the whole SME drive and all of that. It's good if it works well, but Africans are basically being told not to do big business.
Right.
The African government is being told not to do big business or encourage it, that we should be content with the small things. And I'm saying that that is wrong. You see, we should target big business first, and then if we get the proceeds from the big business, we can help small businesses. But we cannot retire ourselves to the small businesses and say we are content with getting bits and crumbs of what rightfully belongs to us. The African economy should belong to Africans.
Exactly.
Not to private foreign interests. You see, so our government needs to, and I know they're not going to listen, and they've never listened. But the issue is, what we can do is, like I have been preaching, is to raise that capital and come in and do big business.
Yes.
You see, and we must do it, and we have the potential to do it. We must do it, and we need to stop depending on, you know, all of these foreign interests, and because all of them come in, they have ulterior motives. I mean, Africans still think that, there's the concept of free help. There's no such thing.
No.
Come anywhere. And it's in our nature because some of us give freely, but we fail to realize that not everybody is like us. You see, so we have all these small businesses. Some of them are doing well. I'm not condemning small business and SME.
Here we go. So Weenie, in Ghana, you have, was it the Kataka company to not the car manufacturer?
Yeah, Kantanka.
Say it again. What is it called?
Kantanka.
Kataka. I mean, that's an example. I mean, manufacturing your own cars.
Yeah, but the problem though, and this is where the government comes in, right? Kantanka has the potential to do it, but without government support, even if he has the money to manufacture more, he's going to need the government to tighten its policy in terms of importation of cars. You see, so that he could gain a competitive advantage. This is what most countries do. The Japanese, they don't allow you to bring your manufactured cars into Japan without
a tax.
Yeah, they put a tax on it because it's a free trading system. So they don't tell you not to bring it, but they tax you so that you cannot compete. This is what basically every country does. They protect their own. And the problem in Ghana is the government is being told not to do that. You see, because Osafo Kantanka and several others, there's a Congolese, Veron Manku, who is also producing his own phones, tablets, and so on. A great guy, young guy. We have the talent. We have people who have the potential to do it. But the one thing producing or manufacturing a vehicle, and another thing marketing it, because it has to be a business. It's and sometimes you need a person to market the product. You see, because he may be a manufacturer, but and it does cost say $10,000, and there are cars that are allowed to come into Ghana for real cheap, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. He's going to be put out of business. You see, so this is the problem. The policy, and this is why I was talking about the neoliberal economic policy is telling government to lay hands off and allow goods to just flow in and out. And it doesn't work that way. For instance, another example, in the production of rice, right, is highly consumed here. The government needs to tighten the borders and say that, okay, I'm not saying don't bring rice in, but when you come to the port, you pay this much and you bring it in. And they do it.
Awini. So one thing I noticed when I was in Senegal, I think the rice was imported from somewhere from Central America or South America. Are you saying that African countries cannot produce their own rice?
It's not that they can, but the government is not creating the enabling environment for them to do so. Because I can produce rice, I can go and farm rice, but who's going to buy the rice? Because the government allows imported rice to come in and be cheaper, because those imported can afford to subsidize. It can be cheaper than what I produce in Ghana. And this is the problem. The logical consumer is going to go for what's cheaper, all things being equal, right?
Correct.
So that's the problem. We have the potential to produce our own food, but the government, because of this neoliberal economic policy that it has adopted is not making it possible. Because how can you allow things that you can easily produce in your own country to be imported into your country? It doesn't make sense. You see? And they do this because they have gotten some kickbacks, you see, from these outside powers to let the foreign people do business.
Well, you understand that what happens is the governments, they give subsidies to these businesses or farmers who are selling their products
Yeah,
out of the country. So that's why
yeah.
they're, because that's why they're able to mark the prices so low, is because the governments are gonna subsidize or give the farmers or the individual companies or businesses the difference.
Definitely. But what of our government? Our government used to give subsidies to our farmers to produce certain crops. But
Hmm.
when we started getting some monies from outside under, for instance, the Millennium Challenge account and all of these, it's all trickery. It's basically that. All of these foreign policies, they give you a bunch of money. They can give you, $100 million and tell you, but you need to, in order for you to get this money, though, you need to allow us to come and sell rice in our country. You need to remove the subsidies that you give to rice farmers, so they can't produce much. Even if they do, it's going to be so expensive, and so we can import rice and make 100 times that. And our people, and that's why I bash our people, because they don't love Africa. That's the
Mm.
reality. They love, we have, and I keep quoting Professor Clark that sometimes white wannabes are more dangerous than whites. You see, I can deal with a foreign business interest because I understand that it's foreign. Its interest is to benefit from us, right? But what I cannot handle is when our own people, who should know better, and they know better, sell out. This is what I can't take. This is what, it's so annoying that people know the impact that their actions are going to have on the Ghanaian economy, the African economy, but they still go ahead and do it because they don't care about anybody. And when they get sick, they get flown out, to go receive healthcare. If I had my way to modify or adjust the Constitution, no president should be allowed to go anywhere for any healthcare. If you can't build it in your country, then you die like the rest of us.
I like that.
You see, and we need to move to a point where we start making these demands. You see, and so when you look at the African economy, it's so sad. You see, look, cement. Mhm. When you have it, we have deposits.
Well, you
Just,
got you have Aliko Degate, Dogote,
yeah,
the,
Dangote. But
the
the
go
issue is, yes, he is doing it out of Nigeria,
the
right?
Ghana. He's in Ghana. He's like in almost. I know he's in Senegal. I want to say he has a plant
Yeah,
in Ghana too.
he does. He does. But what I'm saying is that he is doing it from Nigeria, right?
Hmm.
But we also have plants in Ghana. We have cement deposits in Ghana. Gypsum. Gypsum is where cement comes from. Gypsum.
Hmm.
You see, we have gypsum deposits. Last time I checked, the government gave it to some Indians.
Sounds about
You
right.
know, yeah, and they pay Ghanaians chicken change, and use our labor to produce it.
Let me ask you this
And
one. When you brought that up, so when foreign companies come to Ghana, is there a like kind of a standard operating procedure on where they have to hire a certain percentage of Ghanaian?
local con- Yeah, the local content policy. But the issue is that sometimes the monitoring is very bad, and they flout these regulations. Other times they hire, but they pay below the minimum wage. You see, and there's basically no checking. You see, uh, we are not. But we're saying that what prevented the Ghana government from investing in producing its own cement? What prevented it? They keep telling us that, you see, the argument that is made for privatization or divestiture is that the public sector is rotten. It can't function right. Nobody cares, and but that's why the government is there to put in place checks to ensure that the right thing is done. I can show you several. You go to Norway. Norway controls. They own an oil company, and they're benefiting from their oil resources. They they are producing, refining, and marketing their own oil together with other private companies, of course. But they have a huge stake in it, and the money goes to every single citizen. The money hits the account of every single citizen.
Now Gaddafi was doing the same thing, right? Like the
Exactly. Look, Libya was heaven on earth. Libya, you didn't need to. There was no need to pay for anything, basically, in Libya, and the wealth of the country was benefiting. Now they are regretting. The Libyan citizens are regretting for what happened to Gaddafi.
Of course they are. I mean, same thing with and I know it's not Africa. Same thing with citizens of Iraq. There's people saying they wish Saddam Hussein was back.
Yeah. So all this people use propaganda. People whipped up propaganda against Gaddafi, and now even Britain is saying that they regret it, and even Obama is saying he regrets. But
Yeah.
it's all a sham. It's a trick. They do it day, and they just try to save face and say, oh, we regret it, and but they do it to several people every day. They don't regret anything. They do. So basically, when you look at the African economy, the governments should have been the ones that were in charge of strategic sectors of the economy, and this would have produced the money to finance our social development, because social oriented investments do not, they have, even if they do, they have a long term yielding effect. They have a lagging, you know, return. They take a long time to. So if you invest in education, people are going to have to grow up and get a job for the country to reap the benefits. So the source of income for financing social should be the economy or economic development. And Africa is not in control of its economic development.
Not at
That's
all.
the sad. That's the sad thing of it. We have a few.
And we need to ask this: what role is the African Union supposed to play in the economic development of Africa?
I would say that the African Union is a pale shadow of itself, right? Uh, the primary role that the African Union was supposed to play was to facilitate the continuing unity within Africa, and to facilitate trade within Africa. And ultimately, what Nkrumah envisioned was that African nations, our borders would become fluid, like what the EU is doing, right? We would integrate our economies and become stronger, so that outside influence, when they come to Ghana and Ghana says, no, we're not selling out, and they go to Ivory Coast, the answer is going to be the same, because we have a common policy. You see? So the African Union was supposed to do that. unfortunately, there is just I don't want to even look at the African Union today. It's just because look at the people who constitute the African Union, and you look at how they're ruling their countries, right?
Okay, let's look at that. Let's look at that. Let's start off now. The president of Rwanda, what's his name?
Paul Kagame.
Now, isn't he a chairman of the African Union?
I like Paul Kagame, by the way. I think that Paul Kagame and John Magufuli of Tanzania,
Mm-hmm.
and a few others in Africa, they have good vision for Africa. You see, and they're doing it in their own countries. You see, but the problem is that majority of the Africans are already tied down by neoliberal economic policy. They can't do much.
Right.
I think the East African bloc is by far one of the strongest, if not the strongest, and most promising parts of Africa.
I agree.
And it's because they have the guts to say no, and they have the dignity to say no to foreign temptations. You see, most countries in East Africa today, they're saying that they are going to stop importing clothing from America. And America doesn't like that, for sure. But what about the interest of the countries? Shouldn't that come first? And so, we heard a lot of complaints, and America saying that there will be sanctions for not continuing to import secondhand. I mean, it's so sick. And when I look at it, I feel sorry for a lot of African youth who the level of understanding of these issues is just not there. And we hope that platforms like this can shed light on the issue. It's so sad. How is it that in Africa today, most countries don't produce their own clothing?
Mm.
It's so sickening.
And John Hewlett Clark said that we don't even produce our own underwear.
Yeah, Professor Harry Clark. Yeah, he said that. You see, basic things we can produce. Look, Ghana used to farm and export a lot of cotton, and where I come from, that's where we farm cotton. Up north, up north is very good for farming. Like, it's flat land, and a lot of agriculture was going on there. The companies collapsed because they were owned by government, and then the new liberal economic policy just basically dumped that. The government just let go of the factories, allowed them to rot, and sold off some of them. The private companies that bought them couldn't run them. They run them down and left. You see, so this is the problem. Why is it that some people outside keep telling Africans that we have no business producing our basic goods and services, and that if we want to do that, we should promote SME system? Do you know the interest rate in Ghana for an ordinary money?
Say that one more time. I had lost you towards the end. You said something in Ghana.
Hello?
Go ahead.
Interest. So if you go to a bank that you are an SME and you need money to invest and do business, you will pay not less than 25% interest per annum.
25% interest?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So it's so ironic. You say that you want to promote private business and small business, but they can't even borrow money from the banks. Where do they get the money? Look, even some of the traditional Ghanaian banks, some of them are partially owned by government. They're better. Look, the private ones We have these loan companies, private loan companies, savings and loans companies. They charge about close to 70% interest
Whoa, whoa,
on
whoa,
small
whoa,
loans.
whoa. You said 70% interest.
Some of them,
In America, that's predatory. Like, I mean, like the private loan companies are charging maybe 25%, 30%, but 70%, that's predatory.
look,
But the thing is, now let me ask you this. In Ghana, you have Barclays, right?
yeah, we have that.
You have the African Bank, what's it called? The Bank of Africa, is that in Ghana too?
African Bank.
Right. What about EcoBank? Is EcoBank in Ghana?
Yeah, we have EcoBank.
And they're charging so an interest rate of 25% is normal for banks like that.
Yeah, some of them charge way more than that. Some of them charge over 30%.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So what is the environment? We are not, and this all comes with the policies that we are supposed to. We are not supposed. We can't even give money to our own people to do business. You see, we have a bank, the Agricultural Development Bank. So basically, the idea for setting up some of these banks was to target certain sectors of the economy to develop them. So we had the Bank for Housing and Construction. This was all Nkrumah ideas. We had a bank that was supposed to finance housing, right? We had a bank that is supposed to finance agriculture.
Right.
We had a bank for pensioners and people on retirement and all of that. We had several banks for different things. Now, the Agricultural Development Bank is supposed to make loans available to farmers to go into agriculture. But as we speak, they have gone commercial. They serve they serve more people than farmers. In fact, farmers don't stand that much of a chance to get a loan if they're small holder farmers. The chances of getting a loan are slim to none because most banks now ask you for collateral.
Right.
They want some sort of guarantee that you can pay back. And farming is kind of risky and all of that. So it's very sad, when you look at the economic environment. People don't get access to the finance that they need, and when they do, it's exorbitantly high. It's just too high, and some of them are just getting ripped off. You see, so what the system needs to change, and I feel if we are able to, pull together our own money, we can even start a bank while we're at it.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that.
In America, it's called a credit union.
Yeah, we have credit unions here too.
Okay.
But the problem is to be able to have the liquidity in a large amount that can really make an impact. You see, because if we want to, let's say, produce in commercial quantities, let's say rice, right? And we want to do it in a way that the rice product will be competitive, that we need to invest much. If we want to go into cocoa, and I'm not saying all this to say that there are no investment opportunities in Africa, because there are
plenty.
Yeah, even with all the restraints and the constraints, there are. It's just a matter of looking into them and seeing which way to go. I think that the production of cocoa is one area that is it pays off well, but it's a long-term investment. You see, people may want to go into that, but basically, Africans worldwide, we need a pool of money that would be a game changer. If we don't have access to this pool of money, we'll be relegated to the SMEs, and the people keep telling us, we should start small and do small and all of that. It's not necessarily the case in terms of business, you see. And Africa needs to take control of the strategic investment opportunities in the strategic sectors of our economies. And we can do that if we find a way of pulling together our $1 per month. And if we broadcast and push out the idea that this is what it's about, and some people give away $1 and they don't even care what happens, right?
Exactly.
But then people will be forced to, because it's a conscientizing thing. People will be forced to take an interest, in what happens and why we're doing this, and people can have access to bank information, budget statements, you see, and all of that in the spirit of transparency, you see. So we need to wake up, and we need to realize that Africa belongs to all of us, those home and abroad, and we all deserve to benefit from Africa. There's no reason why foreigners are raping Africa and African Americans. When some of them, when you talk of business with them, they're like, nah, man, I can't do that. I mean, we have to grow out of it, and we need to take advantage of the global economy, because everything is interlinked now. There's a lot of interconnection and a lot of movement going on, and so those people who want to move to Africa and move to Ghana, they can do this in an incremental approach. They can go back and forth between Africa and America and wherever they live, and they can find a way to balance things, you see, because it's as full of opportunities, Africa, it is. But we need to have a strategy to get that money to compete, and compete very well. And we can do it. There's no reason why we shouldn't do it. And when that happens, we would have the budgets, the money to, for instance, replicate what Brother Umar Johnson and other people over there are doing. We can do that in Ghana. We can do that in Tanzania and other places. You see, we can have real pro-African education, because all of this comes with the financing. You see, so we need to realize, and in closing, we need to realize that African economy, as things stand now, is not in the hands of Africa.
It's not. We know that. So let's do this, Awini. Give us a solution, or what should we do to ensure that the economy gets back in the hands of Africans? Let's do that.
So yes. So in my view, we need to overcome the barrier, because we have been shut out by virtue of the fact that we don't have the finance. I don't think that that's a problem, because it's not. And we can easily train the human resource, the human capacity to manage things. That's not a problem. So we need to overcome blockade, the financial blockade. And the only way, from where I sit, for us to do that is for us to have a global fund, a global African fund, where we contribute $1 per month, and we are over 1 billion people. I think Africa alone is close to a billion or so. We're over a billion now. Globally, we should be headed towards 2 billion now, or 1.5 billion. We should set up a global African fund that will go around the world, and we can do this in chapters. We can do it in the Caribbean. The Caribbean can handle the stuff over the fundraising over there. North America can handle it in America. Africa can handle it in Africa. But then it can be merged to be huge. So we need to champion this. We need to find the idea that help us. Only way we can help ourselves is to get that seed capital to do serious investment, yield money to finance our social development. And when we do this, we will have the resources, the financial resources, take back our economy. The way they did it. If you go and look at Norway, they allowed private companies to come in and develop the oil, and they bought the shares back. They bought back most of the shares in oil companies, and they run it. But economy is still there. Financial resources may outcompete the foreign interests, and we have an upper hand because, for instance, if we go in and we say, okay, we're communication, we as African people, number one clients or customers of this service that a foreign entity is benefiting from, and if the service is as good as others, why won't we patronize our own? We will. See, so we already have a competitive advantage because it's our economy. You see, so what is blocking us right now is the fact that we don't have the money to invest strategically, and the $1 project is going to do that for us. With high level of commitment, I give you just 1 year. You will not believe the amount of money that we could pull together. I give you just one year.
Absolutely, it's definitely a solution. It's just.
And with that money, we can take back. We can. Hello.
No, I'm right here. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So yes, it's a bit of, some people say it's a bit of a stretch, but when you look at it, it's workable. Of course, there's going to have to be a high level of commitment from those who are pushing the idea. There's going to have to be a high level of campaigning and openness about how it's going to work. And I have a template on this that I'm tweaking now.
You have to share it with us when you're done.
Yeah, a business plan. So share and we can conference and work on it and perfect it and develop the methodology for collection, because if somebody needs to pay $1, he can't go and queue in a bank to do that, right? So he could use PayPal. In Ghana, for instance, a lot of people use mobile money. So people can make it through, they can even buy credit and use that credit to make the payment. I'm talking of mobile phone credit that we do here. So the methodology for collecting the money should be so diverse that people have no excuse. People don't say, "Oh, I couldn't go to the bank," or the avenues for doing this should be so widespread that it eliminates all the bottlenecks that are likely to pop up in terms of difficulty in making contributions. And people should have, for instance, identification numbers, or numbers that they can link to the system to track their payments and say, I've been making payments for the past 1 year or something, that contribution. We are working on that. Hope that we can have a broader sort of conference around this and share ideas and see how we can make it happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So basically, that's what I wanted to get across. I hope I've been able to do that in a simple way that most of us can understand. Because I have to take into consideration the audience. I know a lot of people are likely, and I hope that we can continue to work on this. And this is our legacy, and we have an advantage now. We can, with the advent of technology, we can easily do this. It's so workable. We can easily do it. So let's see what we can do together.
Absolutely, brother. Thank you, Awini, for coming back on again. I really appreciate it. And also too, I appreciate my guests who come on. Like, I don't want to call you guys guests because I feel like that minimalizes what you guys are actually contributing. You guys are so impactful and powerful. Thank you for coming on, because I know it's late over where you guys are at. So thank you for being inconvenienced and still coming on and sharing the jewels that you're sharing.
No.
I put Brother Awini's contact information in the chat. I'll also put it in the description as well. So people who want to reach out to Awini, please do. His Facebook information is in the chat. But Awini, do you want to share your information real quick as well? Just while you're here.
People can reach me on +233 24931 251. That's +233 249 831 251. And if you go onto Facebook and you type in Awini Baba, that's my Facebook ID. You can get in touch with me also. So I thank everybody for being part of this, and I hope this is just the beginning. Greater things to come, and we can continue to collaborate and work together.
Absolutely. And people in the chat room, thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it. Please share and like the video. Also, go to Instagram. Make sure you search for Uhuru. Search for Uhuru, all one word. Please like and follow me on Instagram. Also, go to search for Uhuru on Facebook, Snapchat, and Twitter. Make sure you go to dynastyamir.com. Make sure you go to searchforuhuru.com. And then make sure you also go to amazon.com and search your name, Dynasty Amir. Please buy a book. But on Instagram, I launched Africa Personified, which is pretty much my coffee table book. I'm still going to do a physical format, but I just wanted to get it out there. So I'm like, you know what, let's use a social media platform and use Instagram. So please follow me on Instagram, search for Uhuru, and like and follow. Thank you for coming on, people. I really appreciate it. Thank you for the support. Thank you for helping grow this channel. Dinah Samir, Awini Baba. Awini Baba will be on, I'm sure, again this week. Please support the brother too. Make sure you go on his Facebook, give him a call if you want to chop it up. So once again, search for Uhuru the Kafatan Don. Thank you for coming on. Till next time, which will probably be later on tonight. I still got to address some things. Till next time or tomorrow. Sometime this week you'll see me again. I'm out. Peace.